What separates someone making $500 a month from someone earning $10,000 on their side project? Spoiler, it's not about hours, credentials, or starting capital. After studying hundreds of cases, I've uncovered the exact psychological and strategic framework that transforms struggling side hustlers into serious wealth builders. Today, I'm breaking down 3 real-life case studies of regular millennials who completely changed their financial situations using principles that most financial experts keep to themselves. Meet Yvonne, the corporate employee, trapped in side hustle thinking. Ever wonder why some people stay stuck making pocket change while others build actual wealth? Meet Yvonne, a corporate marketing manager drowning in 45Ks of student debt who spends her weekends hunched over an iPad creating digital illustrations for her Etsy shop. She's got the full millennial starter pack, decent salary that barely covers rent in a major city, crushing student loans that feel like they'll outlive her, and a creative side project that brings in just enough cash to cover her Netflix, Spotify, and maybe a few fancy coffees each month. Yvonne's story probably sounds way too familiar. By day, she's creating marketing campaigns for other companies, but nights and weekends are dedicated to her true passion, digital illustration. Her Etsy shop features cute, customizable digital prints that customers can download and frame themselves. The problem? Despite having serious talent and putting in 15+ hours every week on her business, Yvonne's income from this creative outlet had completely flatlined at about $500 monthly for 2 years straight. What makes this situation even more frustrating is that Yvonne genuinely has impressive graphic design skills. Her corporate colleagues regularly praise her work, and her Etsy reviews are glowing with 5-star ratings. Customers love her aesthetic, but somehow the money doesn't reflect her talent or the time she's investing. At a creative entrepreneurs meetup, I asked Yvonne to describe her business. She glanced down at her coffee cup, shrugged, and said, "Oh, it's just a little side thing I do for extra cash, nothing serious." That casual dismissal wasn't casual at all. It was programming her brain to think small. The language we use to describe our work directly shapes how we approach it, the opportunities we see, and the limitations we place on ourselves. Yvonne perfectly illustrates what psychologists call complexity aversion. She deliberately kept her venture small because anything bigger seemed overwhelming. "Running a real business would be too much to handle alongside my corporate job," she confided, convinced that $500 was her creative ceiling. This connects directly to research showing 36.7% of side hustlers make less than $500 monthly, trapped in this cycle of high effort but low financial return. The most revealing moment came when I asked about her pricing strategy. "I keep my digital downloads between $5 to $15 because that's what everyone charges on Etsy," she explained matter-of-factly. When I mentioned premium offerings or packages, she looked genuinely confused. The idea had never crossed her mind because she was operating within the mental constraints of a side hustle rather than a legitimate business. For Yvonne, the turning point wasn't about working harder or creating more products. It was about reimagining what her skills were worth. She began with a simple but profound change. She stopped referring to her work as a side hustle and started treating it as a legitimate business with serious growth potential. This was more than semantics. By shifting her language, Yvonne began questioning all the unconscious limitations she'd placed on her business. If this was a genuine business, why charge only $5 to $15 for designs that took hours to create? Why limit herself to Etsy rather than creating her own branded platform? Why offer only one-off products instead of recurring services? With this new framework, Yvonne reimagined her business model. Instead of selling one-off digital downloads to individual consumers, she targeted small business owners who needed consistent brand assets. She created tiered packages starting at $250 for logo designs and brand kits, positioning herself as a professional designer rather than a casual creator. The results were transformative. Within 6 months, Yvonne's monthly income jumped to $14,500, 9 times her previous plateau. The surprising part? She was actually working fewer hours than before because she'd shifted from high-volume, low-priced products to high-value services. The financial impact extended beyond increased monthly income. With this substantial cash flow, Yvonne created an aggressive debt repayment plan and eliminated her $45,000 student loan burden within 18 months, something that would have taken over a decade on her previous trajectory. Yvonne's transformation raises an important question. Why are so many talented people limiting their financial potential with the term side hustle? The language we choose actively creates our reality. When we label something as just a side thing, we unconsciously assign it secondary importance, limited growth potential, and minimal investment requirements. This diminutive terminology shapes everything from pricing decisions to time allocation. If it's just a side hustle, you're less likely to invest in premium tools, professional development, or strategic planning. You're less likely to charge what your skills are truly worth. And critically, you're less likely to see it as something that could potentially replace or exceed your primary income source. The problem isn't the actual work being done on the side. It's the psychological ceiling we place on it through our language and mindset. Yvonne's skills didn't improve overnight. What changed was how she conceived of her business's potential and her willingness to position herself as a professional rather than a hobbyist, making pocket change. This pattern plays out across countless industries. The talented photographer shooting weekend weddings on the side, who could be running a premium studio. The skilled coder building websites for friends, who could be developing specialized software commanding much higher rates. The hobby baker making occasional custom cakes, who could be supplying high-end restaurants with signature desserts. The first step toward transformation isn't working harder within your current framework. It's questioning whether the framework itself is limiting your potential. Are you unconsciously capping your income by how you conceptualize and talk about your work? Is the side hustle mentality keeping you trapped in high-effort, low-return activities? The skill monetization matrix, how Yvonne discovered her high-value offer. Questioning the side hustle framework was just the beginning. Yvonne's real financial breakthrough came from a simple grid diagram that exposed a shocking truth about her skills. Ever notice how some freelancers charge $25 for the same work others bill at $250? The gap isn't talent or experience, it's understanding which specific intersection of your skills solves the most expensive problems. When we first met Yvonne, she was trapped in the classic creative pricing trap. She was selling custom digital illustrations at $25 to $75 each in an Etsy marketplace flooded with similar offerings. Like most side hustlers, she was competing primarily on price in a downward spiral. Looking at her numbers revealed the brutal reality. At $50 per illustration, taking roughly 2 hours to complete, Yvonne had effectively built herself a job with a hard ceiling. Whether she pulled all-nighters or doubled her client list, the math wouldn't budge. She was selling her time, not her value. "But I don't know what else to offer," she told me during our first strategy session. This is where most people hit a wall. They're too close to their own abilities to see beyond their current offerings. That's when we introduced Yvonne to the skill monetization matrix. It's a simple 2x2 grid where you plot your existing skills along 2 axes, market value and scalability potential, limited to unlimited. Here's how it works. 1. List every skill you possess, both from your day job and personal projects. 2. Place each skill on the grid based on its market value and scalability. 3. Look for unexpected combinations where skills intersect. 4. Identify which specific problems these intersections solve for paying clients. Here's where Yvonne had her first "wait, what" moment. When we mapped out all her skills, including her day job that she'd been keeping completely separate from her creative work, patterns started emerging. Yvonne was a corporate marketing manager with 5 years of experience creating visual assets for major brands, who also happened to be a talented illustrator. This perspective shift was everything. Yvonne's corporate marketing experience combined with her design skills created a unique high-value intersection she'd been completely overlooking: brand identity systems for small businesses. Instead of competing with thousands of other illustrators selling one-off digital products, Yvonne could position herself as a brand identity specialist, who helps small businesses look more professional and consistent across all their marketing touchpoints. The transformation in her offering was dramatic. Rather than selling single illustrations, Yvonne developed a comprehensive brand package priced at $2,500 that included logo variants, style guides, and social media templates, a complete brand identity system she could create in about 8 to 10 hours of focused work. This shift raised her effective hourly rate from $25 to over $250, a 10 times increase without learning a single new skill. She simply repackaged what she already knew in a way that solved expensive problems for business owners. I felt like I was charging too much at first, Yvonne admitted, but then I realized my clients were using these brand packages to attract bigger clients of their own. One client told me they landed a $20,000 contract partly because their branding looked so professional. Suddenly, my $2,500 fee felt like a bargain. The current market rate confirms this value. Brand identity packages typically range from $2,500 to $5,000, reflecting the genuine business value these services deliver. They're strategic assets that help companies attract better clients and charge higher rates themselves. What made this work so well was the caliber of clients Yvonne started attracting. Business owners who valued expertise over price and understood the return on their investment. These clients didn't leave endless revision requests or haggle over every dollar. They respected Yvonne's time and knowledge. The results came faster than anyone expected. Within 3 months of implementing this new offer, Yvonne was working with just 2 to 3 clients per month, but earning 5 times more than her previous digital illustration business while actually reducing her weekly hours. The skill monetization matrix works because it forces you to look at the intersection of 3 critical factors. 1. Your unique skill combinations, not just individual skills. 2. The specific problems these combinations can solve. 3. How much the market is willing to pay to have those problems solved. For Yvonne, the matrix revealed that her unique combination of corporate marketing knowledge and creative design skills positioned her perfectly to solve an expensive problem. Small businesses struggling to look professional and consistent across all their marketing. This represents the fundamental shift that many creative entrepreneurs miss. They focus on selling isolated talents rather than solutions to expensive problems. It's like having all the ingredients for a gourmet meal, but only advertising that you can chop vegetables. I wish I'd figured this out years ago, Yvonne told us. I spent so much time trying to compete on Etsy when my real opportunity was hiding in plain sight. What's particularly powerful about this approach is that it doesn't require you to learn entirely new skills. It's about taking inventory of what you already know and finding the valuable combinations you've been overlooking. For anyone feeling trapped in their current income bracket, the first step isn't grinding harder or accumulating more certifications. It's mapping your existing abilities through this framework to discover hidden high-value intersections. When we introduce the matrix in our workshops, we see immediate lightbulb moments. The photographer with project management experience discovers she could offer photo shoot production services to marketing agencies. The writer with HR background realizes he could specialize in creating employee handbooks and training materials at premium rates. The key to Yvonne's transformation wasn't raw talent or luck. It was strategic positioning based on identifying which intersection of her skills solved the most expensive problems for a specific audience. Meet Jason, the gig worker, trapped in the time for money cycle. Strategic positioning worked wonders for Yvonne, but not everyone has a corporate background to leverage. Meet Jason, the ultimate side hustle cautionary tale who was doing everything right according to hustle culture. Multiple apps, maximum hours, total dedication, yet remained completely stuck in financial quicksand. His shocking turnaround came from the one place most gig workers never think to look. Jason's daily routine was the definition of hustle culture goals and a complete nightmare. Picture a hamster wheel spinning at maximum speed, going absolutely nowhere. By 6 a.m., he'd be picking up Uber passengers during morning surge. Afternoons meant delivering food orders, and evenings were filled with TaskRabbit gigs, assembling furniture, mounting TVs, or whatever random tasks appeared. 50 exhausting hours spread across 3 apps just to scrape together $3,000 a month in Chicago, barely covering his rent and basics. I was doing everything the hustle gurus told me to, Jason explained when we first met. Multiple income streams? Check. Maximum available hours? Check. Taking every gig that came my way? Double check. But I was getting nowhere fast. What made Jason's situation especially precarious was the complete lack of stability. Research shows that 34% of Americans have side hustles, with those dedicating around 12 hours weekly, earning a median of just $1,122 monthly. Jason was putting in over 4 times those hours but wasn't building anything sustainable. The worst part was knowing that an algorithm update could slash my income overnight, Jason told us. Uber would suddenly change their surge pricing model, or DoorDash would flood the market with new drivers, and boom, there goes 30% of my weekly income with zero warning. This constant financial uncertainty had locked Jason into what psychologists call a scarcity mindset. When you're constantly worried about covering basic expenses, your brain physically cannot focus on long-term opportunities. All your mental bandwidth gets consumed by immediate survival needs. Despite working non-stop, he kept his emergency savings in a basic checking account, earning 0 interest. When he occasionally had an extra $200, he'd immediately use it to pay a bill early rather than investing it. Taking a day off to develop a more sustainable plan felt like an impossible luxury. The turning point came when we had Jason do something surprisingly simple, actually read his TaskRabbit reviews. While most gig workers skim feedback for the star rating, Jason looked for patterns in what customers were specifically praising. A clear trend emerged. Phrases like incredibly organized, transformed my chaotic space, and way more efficient than I expected appeared repeatedly. One client wrote, "Jason didn't just mount my TV and assemble my furniture. He completely reorganized my entertainment area and made it look like something from a magazine." What Jason had dismissed as doing a good job was actually a specialized skill set highly valued by clients: home organization and space transformation. While he was charging $25 per hour for random tasks, specialized home organizers were charging premium rates for essentially the same skills he already possessed. "I had no idea this was even a legitimate business model," Jason told us. "I was just trying to make each client happy for a good rating and more gigs. I didn't realize I could package these skills differently and charge way more." This realization led to Jason's first experiment, creating a specialized TaskRabbit offering called Weekend Apartment Transformations. Instead of listing himself for random handyman tasks, he created a specific service promising to completely transform cluttered spaces over a single weekend. The home organization industry has seen tremendous growth, with more people recognizing the value of specialized services. This trend created the perfect opportunity for Jason to leverage his skills for significantly higher earnings by focusing on specific client needs. Instead of charging hourly, Jason packaged his service with a flat rate of $1,200 for a weekend transformation. This included decluttering, organizing, assembling furniture if needed, and taking professional before and after photos that clients could share on social media. The results were immediate. His first specialized gig earned him more than an entire week of multi-app hustle. Clients were thrilled to pay his rates because they were buying a specific transformation with tangible results, not just his time. Within 4 months, Jason was fully booked with apartment transformation clients. His monthly income jumped to $7,200, more than double what he made across 3 different gig apps, while actually working fewer hours per week. Best of all, he was building a real business with stability rather than chasing algorithm-controlled gigs. The biggest change was in his mindset. By shifting from hourly thinking to value-based pricing, Jason broke free from the time for money trap that ensnares most gig workers. He no longer feared algorithm changes because he wasn't dependent on platforms. His before and after photos became a portfolio generating organic referrals. Jason also leveraged modern technology. Using AI and automation tools helped him streamline operations, allowing him to manage multiple projects efficiently. He created a simple booking system, automated follow-up emails, and used project management software to keep his transformations on schedule. As his business grew, Jason's scarcity mindset transformed too. With financial stability, he could make decisions based on long-term growth rather than short-term survival. He invested in better equipment, hired occasional help for larger projects, and even took weekends off, something impossible in his gig worker days. The most valuable change was gaining control over my time and financial future, Jason reflected. When I was working across 3 apps, I was hustling hard, but building nothing. Now I'm creating equity in something that's mine. Jason's story illuminates one of today's biggest economic traps, mistaking busyness for progress. While hustle culture glorifies the grind, Jason discovered that strategic positioning and value-based pricing could accomplish more with financial architecture, how Jason built income stability and wealth momentum. Earning more didn't immediately solve Jason's money problems, it just upgraded them. Think making $700 a month would eliminate financial stress? Jason learned the hard way that without the right financial architecture, even 6-figure earners can still be one canceled project away from total panic. The missing piece wasn't another income stream, but something 73% of Gen Z completely overlooks. After transforming his gig work into a specialized service business, Jason initially did what most of us do when we start making more money. He upgraded his lifestyle. The cramped studio apartment became a 1-bedroom with actual natural light. The instant ramen dinners evolved into DoorDash 3 times a week. And those worn-out sneakers replaced with the brand names he'd been eyeing forever. But here's the financial reality check. Jason was still living paycheck to paycheck, just with bigger paychecks. His bank account would swell after completing a weekend transformation project, then gradually drain until the next big payday. This feast or famine cycle created a false sense of financial security, one that came crashing down spectacularly one Tuesday morning. When my phone buzzed with that cancellation message, my stomach literally dropped, Jason told me. It was a $3,600 project, 3 transformations I'd booked back to back, and suddenly it was gone. The client had a family emergency and needed to postpone indefinitely. Despite all his income growth, Jason had no financial safety net. That single cancellation meant scrambling to cover rent that month, even though he was earning over triple his previous gig worker income. The wake-up call wasn't just loud, it was deafening. This is when we introduced Jason to what I call the financial architecture framework. Unlike budgeting, which focuses on restricting spending, financial architecture is about building systems that automatically direct your money toward different purposes before you have a chance to spend it. For someone with variable income like Jason, we implemented a modified framework, 50% toward essential expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, 30% toward lifestyle choices, dining out, entertainment, clothes, travel, 20% toward wealth building, investments, retirement accounts, 10% toward skill development, courses, tools, books, coaching. The percentages weren't the magic, the automatic systems were. Jason opened 4 separate bank accounts, each serving a specific purpose in his financial ecosystem. First, an emergency fund account. This became his top priority since he had 0 safety net. I never realized how much anxiety I was carrying until I started building this cushion, Jason admitted. It was like I could finally take a full breath. Experts recommend saving 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which became Jason's initial target. Second, a separate tax account. As an independent contractor, Jason was responsible for his own tax withholding, something he'd been handling, let's say, creatively before. Now, 25% of every payment automatically transferred to this account, eliminating quarterly tax panic. Third, an investment account linked to a basic S&P 500 index fund. Jason had never invested $1 before, partly because investing seemed complicated, and partly because there was never anything left to invest. The automatic transfers changed that equation completely. Finally, a business development fund for growing his business, whether through better tools, marketing, or eventually hiring help. The game changer was the automation that connected these accounts. Every time a payment hit Jason's business account, predetermined percentages automatically flowed to each designated account before he could even think about spending that money. The system basically makes my financial decisions for me, Jason explained. Money comes in, and by the time I check my main account, the right portions have already gone to the right places. I'm not fighting with myself about whether to save or spend. The system does the fighting for me. This financial architecture transformed Jason's relationship with money. For someone with variable income, this approach solved one of the toughest financial challenges: inconsistency. During high-income months, the system automatically saved more. During leaner periods, his emergency fund provided a buffer that prevented financial stress from forcing bad decisions. Within 12 months, Jason built a $15,000 emergency fund, enough to cover 3 months of expenses if every client suddenly disappeared. The psychological difference is incredible, Jason told me. I used to wake up checking my phone for project confirmations. Now I wake up planning my day. He also invested $12,000 in a basic S&P 500 index fund, his first ever investment. Watching that account grow even a little completely changed how I think about money, Jason said. Before, money was just something that flowed through my life. Now, it's something that can actually work for me while I sleep. His business development fund accumulated enough to hire his first part-time virtual assistant, someone who handled bookings and client communications for 15 hours weekly. This $1,500 monthly investment actually increased his income by allowing him to take on more projects while reducing his administrative workload. The financial architecture created a positive spiral where each element strengthened the others. The emergency fund reduced stress, making better business decisions possible. The investments created passive income potential, and as income increased, every part of the system benefited proportionally. This approach stands in stark contrast to how most people handle increased income, upgrading their lifestyle until expenses match or exceed earnings. Nearly 73% of Gen Z report that the economic climate makes saving challenging, and more than half lack sufficient savings to cover just 3 months of expenses. I used to feel like money controlled me, like I was always chasing it, Jason reflected. Now I feel like I'm directing it, telling it where to go and what to do. The difference in how that feels is impossible to overstate. Meet Maya, the creative with inconsistent income and big dreams. Financial architecture sounds amazing on paper, but all these fancy systems fall apart when your income looks like a roller coaster designed by someone who's had way too much caffeine. While those automatic savings tools are cool and all, they don't exactly solve the biggest problem creative professionals face: income that swings wildly from month to month with absolutely zero warning. Meet Maya, a yoga instructor whose bank account resembled a bipolar weather system. Sunshine and clear skies one moment, thunderstorms the next. One month she'd pull in $3,500 teaching private sessions and specialized workshops, enough to cover rent, groceries, put some away for taxes, and even enjoy a few restaurant meals. The next, barely $1,200 when clients disappeared on summer vacations or holiday breaks, forcing her to choose between paying rent or utilities. I never knew if I could cover my rent next month, Maya told us. I'd have these amazing weeks where I felt financially secure, followed by complete drought periods where I'd reluctantly reach for my credit card just to buy groceries. Despite having serious yoga skills, she'd completed over 500 hours of training, and a growing Instagram following, Maya was trapped in financial quicksand. The more she struggled, the deeper she sank. The constant background hum of anxiety followed her everywhere, even onto her yoga mat, where she was supposed to be teaching others about finding peace and balance. Her stomach knotted each time she checked her bank balance, her shoulders permanently tensed from financial strain. Maya's biggest obstacle wasn't actually her fluctuating income, it was her mindset. Despite years of specialized training and consistently positive feedback from her students, she battled persistent imposter syndrome. When asked why she hadn't created a signature program or positioned herself as a specialist, Maya would nervously laugh and say, "Oh, I'm not really at that level yet. There are so many more qualified teachers out there." This mindset kept her playing small. While other yoga instructors with half her experience confidently charged premium rates for specialized programs, Maya continued undervaluing her expertise, charging basic rates, and hesitating to position herself as an authority. Her inner critic was literally costing her thousands of dollars every month. When we first sat down with Maya, we discovered something surprising. This pattern is remarkably common among creative professionals. Imposter syndrome thrives in creative fields, causing talented people to chronically undervalue their work and hesitate to step into their full earning potential. The turning point came when we helped Maya analyze her content engagement data. Instead of just posting what felt good, we dug into which of her content was actually resonating most with her audience. The results were eye-opening. While her general yoga flows and pretty pose pictures got decent engagement, her content specifically addressing anxiety management through movement was absolutely blowing up. Her 3-part series on breathing techniques for panic attacks had triple the engagement of her other posts, and her weekly anxiety relief flows consistently filled her in-person classes. I was shocked, Maya admitted. I'd been creating that content almost as an afterthought because it was personally meaningful to me. I had no idea how many people were specifically coming to me for anxiety relief. This insight revealed Maya's unique market position. She wasn't just another yoga teacher in a saturated market. She was uniquely positioned to help people specifically struggling with anxiety and stress management through movement. Instead of competing with thousands of general fitness influencers and yoga teachers, Maya created a specialized 8-week online program, Anxiety Relief Through Movement, priced at $397. This comprehensive system guided participants through a specific transformation from anxiety to embodied calm. The program combined Maya's yoga expertise with her personal experience overcoming anxiety, creating something far more valuable than generic yoga instruction. By focusing on a specific transformation promise rather than selling her time in 1-hour increments, Maya revolutionized her income potential. Maya needed to build a value ladder, a clear pathway from free content to increasingly valuable paid offerings. She restructured her social media strategy to consistently provide free anxiety relief mini-practices that demonstrated her expertise while naturally leading followers toward her comprehensive program. This approach solved the feast or famine cycle by creating predictable, recurring enrollment periods. Instead of wondering if enough private clients would book sessions each month, Maya could forecast her income based on program enrollment numbers. The results were transformative. Within 5 months, Maya was consistently enrolling between 25 to 30 students in each cohort of her program. At $397 per enrollment, she was generating over $10,000 in monthly income, more than triple her previous highest-earning months. And unlike the constant hustle of booking private sessions, this income became predictable and increasingly passive as she refined her program delivery systems. The most surprising part, Maya told us, is that I'm actually helping more people now than I ever did before. When I was stuck in the one-on-one model, I could only impact maybe 20 to 25 people each week. Now I'm guiding hundreds through transformative experiences simultaneously. Maya's story reveals something crucial about the pave creator economy. The path to financial stability isn't working more hours or hustling harder. It's about applying strategic thinking to transform your knowledge into scalable offerings that solve specific problems. Automation systems. How Maya reduced her workload by 70%. Just as Maya was celebrating her financial breakthrough, a 2-week illness exposed the fragile foundation her growing business was built on. While she'd created an incredible program helping hundreds with anxiety through yoga, Maya discovered the harsh reality of success. She'd accidentally built a business that completely depended on her constant presence. One health setback, and suddenly her thriving income stream froze completely. The shocking reality hit Maya like a ton of bricks. Her days disappeared into filming content, responding to endless student messages, manually processing enrollments, troubleshooting tech issues, and teaching live sessions. At 50+ hours weekly, she'd created something worse than her old corporate job, a business that couldn't function without her physically present every single day. When that nasty flu knocked her out for 2 weeks, her business essentially flatlined. Students couldn't access materials, payments got delayed, questions piled up unanswered, and new enrollments sat in limbo. The moment she recovered, Maya faced a mountain of backlogged work that made her question everything. This crisis forced Maya to confront an uncomfortable truth. As she put it, "I thought I was building freedom, but I actually created a job with no sick days, no vacation time, and no backup plan." This breaking point led us to introduce Maya to our 80-20 automation framework. Identify the 20% of activities generating 80% of your results, then systematically automate or outsource everything else. Think of it as unclogging a jammed machine so it can run smoothly, even when you're not constantly monitoring it. Maya's first breakthrough came from analyzing where her time was actually going. She discovered nearly 15 hours weekly disappeared into repetitive tasks, with individual student onboarding eating up 10+ hours monthly alone. Her initial automation win transformed everything. Instead of filming live sessions each week, Maya batch recorded her core program content and set up an automated email sequence through ActiveCampaign. This immediately freed up 10 hours weekly while ensuring students received consistent instruction even during her absence. I was honestly shocked at how much better the pre-recorded content worked, Maya told us. Students could pause, rewatch difficult sections, and practice at their own pace. My attendance and completion rates actually improved once I stopped doing everything live. Next, Maya overhauled her payment and enrollment systems. Before automation, she manually added students to her teaching platform, sent welcome materials, and tracked payments through complicated spreadsheets. A nightmarish system that consumed hours of her time each week. This is where automation tools became Maya's secret weapons. She implemented 2 complementary systems. Zapier connected her various apps and services without requiring coding skills. When someone purchased her program, Zapier automatically enrolled them in her teaching platform, added them to her email sequence with personalized messages, updated her student database, and sent immediate access to welcome materials. For more complex scenarios, Maya used Make's visual interface to create sophisticated workflows with conditional logic. One standout example, she built a system that monitored student engagement and automatically sent check-in emails if someone hadn't logged in for 5 days. If they still hadn't logged in after 7 days, the system flagged them for personal follow-up. This proactive approach dramatically improved completion rates without requiring constant manual monitoring. What previously consumed 20+ minutes of manual work per student now happened instantly and flawlessly. Similar businesses using these automation tools have eliminated 18+ business days of manual work annually. Maya experienced similar time savings, allowing her to focus on actual teaching rather than administrative busywork. The final piece of Maya's transformation involved delegation. Even with fantastic automation, some tasks still needed a human touch. After careful consideration, Maya hired a virtual assistant for 10 hours weekly to handle customer service, content scheduling, and administrative tasks. For roughly $250 weekly, she reclaimed 15+ hours to focus exclusively on high-value activities only she could do, refining her teaching methodology, developing new program modules, and nurturing student relationships. The transformation was remarkable. Within 3 months, Maya reduced her working hours from 50+ to just 15 per week, while maintaining the same income. More importantly, when she took a planned 2-week vacation 6 months later, her business continued running smoothly without her constant involvement. The automation framework completely transformed not just my income, but my entire relationship with my business, Maya explained. I went from feeling trapped to feeling liberated. My programs now run like a well-oiled machine, whether I'm actively working or taking time off. The most surprising benefit? Student satisfaction scores actually improved after automation. By removing busy work, Maya dedicated her limited working hours to creating transformative yoga experiences and meaningful student connections. The automation handled the rest, often more reliably and consistently than she could manually. The tools making this possible aren't complex or expensive. Zapier plans start at just $20 monthly, Make offers similar pricing, and virtual assistants cost $15 to $25 hourly. The investment is minimal compared to the massive return in time and sanity. But here's the uncomfortable truth. According to our research, 83% of creators never implement these systems, remaining trapped in the constant hustle cycle. They keep running on the hamster wheel, working longer hours rather than building smarter systems. The psychological barrier often isn't technical complexity. It's letting go of control and trusting that automation can handle critical business functions effectively. Risk management: how our millennials avoided the 5K month income plateau. That fear of letting go doesn't just limit automation, it creates a financial ceiling that most never break through. The 5K monthly revenue wall that Yvonne, Jason, and Maya all slammed into wasn't bad luck or limited markets holding them back. It was specific psychological barriers silently sabotaging their growth potential. Let's get real for a second. Picture this. You've hustled your way to making $5,000 a month in your business. Your friends are impressed, your Instagram followers think you're crushing it, and compared to your old income, you're feeling pretty good. But then, nothing happens. For months, despite working harder, trying new marketing tactics, and pulling all-nighters, your income just flatlines. Sound familiar? This revenue plateau is actually a psychological barrier that affects 68% of successful side businesses, meaning more than 2/3 of entrepreneurs get stuck right where you are. And what's wild is that it has almost nothing to do with your skills, your market, or even your competition. When we analyze the growth patterns of Yvonne, Jason, and Maya, we notice something fascinating. Despite working in completely different industries, brand design, home organization, and wellness, they all hit the exact same financial wall around 5K monthly revenue. But why? The answer wasn't in their business models or markets. It was in their heads. You see, making that first leap from $0 to 5K monthly involves one set of skills: mastering your craft and finding your first clients. But breaking through to 10K, 20K, or beyond, that requires confronting deep-seated psychological barriers around risk. Our research uncovered 3 specific risk plateaus that create invisible income ceilings. The expertise plateau: believing only you can deliver your service at the quality clients expect, becoming your own bottleneck. The systems plateau: refusing to invest in proper business infrastructure, trying to run a growing business with starter tools. The team plateau: unable to share control with others, hiring for basic tasks, but keeping all important work for yourself. Yvonne crashed into the expertise plateau like hitting a brick wall. As her brand design business grew to 5K monthly, she worked longer hours, refusing to let anyone else touch her designs. "I was convinced that my clients were hiring me, not my business," she explained. "The thought of someone else handling the design work made me physically anxious." Her breakthrough came when she created detailed brand guidelines and standardized her design process. This documentation allowed her to hire a junior designer to handle implementation work while she focused on strategy and client relationships. The result? Within 3 months, her capacity doubled and her monthly revenue jumped to $8,500. While Yvonne was trapped in her expertise, Jason was drowning in the systems plateau. Even as his home organization business grew, he was still managing client bookings through text messages, tracking projects on sticky notes, and handling invoices manually. When asked about project management software, he'd say, "That's for real businesses, not someone like me." The turning point came when a scheduling mix-up cost him a $2,200 project. That painful loss finally convinced him to invest in proper systems: project management software, standardized client contracts, and automated payment processing. These tools didn't just prevent mistakes, they transformed his capacity to manage multiple projects simultaneously. Within 4 months, his monthly revenue crossed $9,300. Where Yvonne couldn't let go of her work and Jason couldn't upgrade his tools, Maya built a moat around her authority with the team plateau. While she had hired a virtual assistant to handle basic administrative tasks, she insisted on personally managing her student community, responding to every question, solving every problem, and leading every discussion. "These are my students," she'd say. "They signed up for my program, not someone else's." The breakthrough came when burnout forced her hand. After a particularly exhausting launch, she finally hired a community manager, a former student who deeply understood the program. This freed Maya to develop new program offerings and focus on high-level content creation. 6 months later, her monthly revenue hit $13,500. What's fascinating about these plateaus is how invisible they are when you're experiencing them. None of our millennials recognize their self-imposed limitations until we help them identify their specific risk patterns. For Yvonne, complexity aversion kept her from creating systems that could scale beyond her personal capacity. This psychological barrier, where fear of making mistakes leads to avoiding necessary decisions, manifested as procrastination. She kept putting off hiring help despite being overwhelmed. Loss aversion played a huge role for Jason. This powerful emotional barrier had him avoiding investments in business infrastructure because the immediate cost felt more painful than the potential future gains seemed pleasurable. He was so focused on not wasting money on software that he couldn't see how these tools would multiply his earning potential. Maya's challenge was the scarcity mindset, that persistent fear that there will never be enough money, clients, opportunities. This kept her hoarding control over her community, unable to trust that someone else could maintain the quality she'd established. Breaking through required specific strategies tailored to each plateau. For the expertise, plateau, progressive delegation through documentation, creating detailed workflows, brand guides, and quality standards to maintain consistent quality while removing yourself from direct implementation. For the systems plateau, strategic infrastructure investment, identifying the highest leverage tools and processes that immediately expand capacity without massive learning curves. For the team plateau, incremental control sharing, starting with limited responsibility areas and gradually expanding based on demonstrated results. Each of these strategies directly confronted the psychological barriers holding our millennials back. And the results speak for themselves. All three broke through the 10K psychological transformation, the wealth mindset patterns that changed everything. Breaking systems barriers was just the first battle. The war was happening in their heads. What if the biggest thing holding you back from financial freedom isn't your business strategy, marketing plan, or even your skills, but something far more sneaky? Our millennials discovered a mind-blowing truth. After implementing all the practical systems we talked about, they each hit invisible income ceilings that defied logical explanation. Let's get real. Yvonne, Jason, and Maya had already crushed their initial income goals, but something weird started happening as they approached the 20K monthly threshold. Despite having solid systems, loyal clients, and proven business models, they began unconsciously sabotaging their own success. Yvonne suddenly forgot to send proposals to high-value clients. Jason developed technical issues whenever he was about to close major contracts. Maya kept scheduling vacations during potentially profitable launch periods. This is your brain's financial comfort zone kicking in. Research shows this psychological barrier affects nearly 78% of entrepreneurs who hit plateaus that have nothing to do with their market or skills. Your mind has preset comfort levels for how much money you believe you deserve, and it will find crafty ways to keep you right at that level. Digging deeper, we uncovered distinct psychological blocks in each entrepreneur. Yvonne wrestled with worthiness issues, feeling guilty about charging premium rates even though clients happily paid. "Am I really worth this much?" she'd ask, offering unnecessary discounts nobody requested. Her stomach would knot whenever sending proposals over a certain price point. Jason experienced what psychologists call upper limit problems. Whenever his income exceeded his parents' earnings of $75 annually, he'd feel sweaty palms and racing thoughts before making bizarre business decisions that dropped his revenue. His childhood brain had wired wealth to selling out based on offhand comments his parents made about rich people. Maya's success triggered visibility resistance. As her program grew, she physically felt her throat tighten when promotional opportunities arose. She declined podcast interviews, avoided media features, and deleted viral social posts. Her childhood experiences created a subconscious link between standing out and danger. Her body literally felt unsafe when too many people noticed her work. Standard productivity hacks completely fail to fix these deeper patterns. You can't just hustle harder past these blocks. Our research showed high earners don't work more hours. They've developed emotional resilience around money that average earners typically lack. The breakthrough came through targeted psychological techniques. Yvonne implemented value anchoring, documenting the actual business impact her work created. When a client's rebranding led to a $50K contract, Yvonne calculated her $4,500 fee represented just 9% of that single win. This concrete evidence helped her establish new reference points for her worth, replacing the knot in her stomach with a sense of confidence. Jason's transformation came through financial timeline therapy, mapping his family's money story separately from his own financial future. He identified where his limiting beliefs originated and created new money scripts like, "My success creates opportunities for my family," and "Wealth allows me to support causes I believe in." The physical anxiety symptoms vanished as he broke the unconscious link between earning and guilt. For Maya, incremental exposure therapy made all the difference. We created a visibility ladder with 10 steps of gradually increasing public exposure, starting with low-stakes activities like guest teaching in private communities. Each positive experience rewired her association between visibility and safety. The throat-tightening sensation diminished until she could confidently present to large audiences. The results transformed their businesses. Within 6 months, Yvonne introduced a $10 brand strategy package without hesitation. Jason signed his first 6-figure contract with calm confidence. Maya taught at a major wellness conference, exposing her program to thousands of new clients. And all this happened without adding more hours to their work weeks. By addressing the psychological limitations rather than pushing harder, all three doubled their monthly income within the following year. Yvonne hitting $42K, Jason reaching $36K, and Maya topping $50K. These patterns connect directly to what researchers call money scripts, unconscious beliefs about finances formed in childhood. Someone who grew up hearing "money is the root of all evil" might avoid wealth-building opportunities out of fear of becoming a bad person. These scripts run so deep, many entrepreneurs don't realize they're operating from them. What separates 6-figure earners from everyone else isn't some secret marketing tactic. It's their ability to recognize and address these unconscious limitations. They develop what psychologists call a growth mindset around money, viewing financial challenges as opportunities rather than threats. Setting financial goals becomes vastly more effective after addressing these psychological barriers. Before our intervention, our millennials would set ambitious targets but sabotage them. After rewiring their money psychology, their goals became both more ambitious and more achievable because their unconscious minds aligned with their conscious desires. Financial psychology affects every money decision you make. Those impulse purchases after landing a big client, that's your brain maintaining your financial comfort zone. The mysterious computer crash before an important sales call, your unconscious creating circumstances to keep you where you feel safe. Here's the good news. Once you understand these are psychological patterns, not character flaws or coincidences, you can address them systematically. The wealthiest entrepreneurs aren't necessarily the smartest or most hardworking. They're the ones who've done the inner work to expand their financial comfort zones and remove unconscious blocks to receiving money. The Wealth Machine Blueprint, combining all elements into a sustainable system. While fixing your money mindset is crucial, it's just one piece of a much bigger wealth puzzle. What if I told you that the difference between hustling for cash versus building actual wealth isn't about working harder, but about creating a system where money flows, whether you're grinding away or chilling on a beach? That's exactly what happened when our 3 millennials, Yvonne, Jason, and Maya, combined all the elements we've discussed into what I call the Wealth Machine Blueprint. After a year and a half of implementing these principles, these formerly stressed-out side hustlers transformed into business owners with sustainable systems generating $15 to $20K monthly. But here's the kicker. They were working way less than before. Pretty sweet, right? The final boss they all faced was creating truly sustainable systems that could run without their constant babysitting. Because let's face it, What's the point of making more if you're still chained to your laptop 24/7? The Wealth Machine Blueprint is an integrated system with 5 core elements that work together. High-value skill monetization, finding what you're actually worth. Premium positioning, charging what you deserve. Financial architecture, where your money goes. Strategic automation, working smarter, not harder. Wealth psychology, getting your brain on board with success. Let's see how our 3 millennials transformed their hustle into actual wealth machines. Yvonne transformed her design business into a legit agency model. She hired 3 talented designers to handle the day-to-day creative work, freeing herself to focus on client acquisition and overall strategy. The result? Her monthly income hit $22K while she worked just 25 hours a week. That's less time than most people spend at a full-time job, but with way more cash. What powered this transformation was her smart use of automation tools. Businesses that implement automation can boost productivity by up to 40%. Yvonne leveraged tools like Zapier and Make to connect her different business applications without coding skills, creating workflows that handled everything from client onboarding to project management automatically. Jason expanded his weekend transformations into a full-blown home renovation business with a team of 4 people. His business now brings in $18K monthly from client work, plus an additional $4K from content partnerships, where he showcases his transformations. The former gig worker who's stressed about algorithm changes now has multiple income streams that protect him from any single point of failure. His breakthrough came when he started working on his business instead of just in it. Rather than personally handling every client interaction, Jason implemented sophisticated project management systems that allowed his team to operate efficiently even when he wasn't directly involved. Jason integrated AI tools into his workflow, a smart move considering 95% of independent workers report that AI tools significantly boost their productivity. These tools streamlined administrative tasks like client communications, project estimates, and design visualization, freeing up his creative energy for high-value activities. Maya's transformation might be the most impressive of all. She evolved from teaching yoga classes whenever she could book them to developing multiple program tiers and creating a certification program where she trains other instructors in her anxiety relief methodology. This certification program became a major revenue source, with her business generating $25 monthly while she works just 20 hours a week, half the time for nearly triple the income. Her business model blends permanent staff with on-demand workers. Her core team handles day-to-day operations while specialized contractors come in for specific projects. This hybrid staffing approach gives her business incredible agility without the overhead of full-time employees. All 3 have engineered themselves out of their business's daily operations. Their systems can run for weeks without their direct involvement while continuing to generate significant income. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It's strategic business design that creates true financial freedom. There's a massive difference between hustling harder versus building a wealth machine. When you're just hustling, your income is directly tied to your time and effort. Work more, earn more. Take time off, earn nothing. It's an exhausting treadmill leading to burnout. A wealth machine creates increasing returns with decreasing personal time investment. It's like planting a money tree that grows bigger every year while requiring less of your attention. Through strategic systems design, our millennials created businesses that continue to scale without demanding more of their time. The integration of AI into their automation systems was particularly game-changing. AI-enhanced tools now handle increasingly complex tasks, making them essential for forward-thinking businesses. Yvonne used AI for generating initial design concepts, Jason for creating 3D visualizations, and Maya for personalizing student experiences. These systems compound over time. Every investment in automation, every trained team member, every documented process, they all contribute to increasingly self-sufficient businesses. After 18 months, all 3 reached a tipping point where their businesses generated more value with less personal input. This approach creates something bigger than yourself. Yvonne's agency employs designers who might otherwise be stuck in the freelance rut she escaped. Jason's business provides stable jobs to people previously caught in the gig economy trap. Maya's certification program empowers other yoga teachers to build sustainable businesses. The Wealth Machine Blueprint transforms side hustles into legitimate businesses that create value for clients, opportunities for employees, and financial freedom for their founders. Your 48-hour transformation plan, implementing these principles this weekend. Here's the uncomfortable truth most business gurus won't tell you. You don't need weeks or months to start transforming your side hustle. While Yvonne, Jason, and Maya built impressive businesses over time, their breakthroughs actually began during a single weekend that completely rewired how their businesses functioned. Ready to see exactly what they did in those 48 hours? Let's face it, the biggest obstacle for most side hustlers is taking concrete action. We already have tons of business advice at our fingertips. The real challenge is creating immediate momentum instead of getting stuck in permanent planning mode, where you consume content but never implement anything. When I first met Yvonne, Jason, and Maya, they shared the same frustrating challenge. They knew changes were necessary, but couldn't figure out how to fit implementation into lives already packed with day jobs and side hustle commitments. Between work deadlines, family obligations, and keeping their side businesses afloat, finding time for strategic improvements seemed impossible. That's why we developed the 48-hour transformation plan, a focused weekend intensive designed for immediate results without quitting your job or neglecting current clients. It's essentially business boot camp, condensed into a single weekend that creates momentum to carry you forward for months. Here's exactly what happens during these 2 days. Day 1. Morning, skill monetization matrix. You'll identify what you're actually worth in the marketplace. Most side hustlers undervalue their skills because they see them individually instead of as unique combinations. In this 3-hour session, you'll map your complete skill inventory, research market rates, and find your highest value intersection where your unique abilities solve expensive problems for specific clients. By lunchtime, you'll have your premium positioning statement drafted. Day 1, afternoon, offer restructuring. Goodbye hourly rates and time-based packages. You'll build value-based offers that clients actually want to buy. You'll create your first premium package with strategic price anchoring, showing clients why your rates are a bargain compared to the value received. As Yvonne told me, I was charging $500 for projects that delivered $5,000 in value. After restructuring my offers that afternoon, I immediately raised my rates to $1,200 with confidence. Day 1, evening. Financial architecture setup. You'll create specialized accounts for taxes, emergencies, investments, and business development. More importantly, you'll establish automatic transfer systems that move money between accounts on set schedules, eliminating willpower from the equation. This simple evening task creates the foundation for actual wealth building. Day 2, morning. Busy work elimination. You'll identify your 3 most time-consuming tasks and create basic automation systems to handle them. This might include setting up Zapier workflows, creating Calendly scheduling links, or building email templates that save hours of typing. The goal is eliminating low-value tasks that consume your precious time. Day 2, afternoon, wealth psychology assessment. You'll identify specific mental patterns potentially holding back your financial growth. Are you struggling with worthiness issues around charging higher rates? Do you self-sabotage when your income exceeds certain thresholds? Do you avoid visibility even though it would help your business? Identifying these patterns is the first step toward breaking them. Day 2, evening. 30-day implementation roadmap. This isn't some vague plan. It's a week-by-week action schedule with specific milestones keeping you accountable. You'll identify exactly what needs to happen in weeks 1 to 4 after your transformation weekend, ensuring momentum continues even when life gets busy again. Does this actually work? Jason's experience speaks volumes. Within 6 days of my transformation weekend, I booked my first premium client at $2,700, triple my previous rate, using the exact positioning statement we created that Saturday. What makes this plan so effective is its focus on immediate implementation rather than perfect planning. Too many entrepreneurs get stuck in analysis paralysis. trying to create the perfect business model before taking any action. This intensive flips that approach. You implement as you learn, making each principle concrete through immediate action. This approach addresses a fundamental truth about business success. Momentum is everything. When Yvonne, Jason, and Maya saw tangible results within days of their transformation weekends, it created confidence and energy to keep implementing bigger changes. Those early wins were crucial for building belief in the process. Another powerful aspect is the psychological shift that happens when you dedicate focused time to your business. Simply treating your side hustle as important enough to deserve an entire weekend changes how you think about it. That shift, from just a little thing on the side to my legitimate business, creates ripple effects influencing every decision afterward. The most remarkable thing about our case studies is how quickly momentum started. Within 7 days of completing their transformation weekends, all 3 entrepreneurs had implemented significant changes, bringing immediate results. Yvonne had completely restructured her service offerings, Jason had booked his first premium client, and Maya had started building her program outline. The key? None of them tried changing everything at once. They focused on high-impact changes first, creating immediate results that funded further improvements. This snowball effect allowed them to implement the entire wealth machine blueprint over time without feeling overwhelmed or burning out. We've reached the end of our journey. And here's the real truth. The $2.58 trillion side hustle economy represents a massive wealth-building opportunity that most people are approaching all wrong. Think about it. Yvonne, Jason, and Maya succeeded not because of magical talent or secret connections. They simply stopped thinking small and restructured their approach. They recognized that psychological barriers like complexity aversion and loss aversion were keeping them trapped in limited thinking. The amazing thing? Today's AI and automation tools have made this transformation more accessible than ever. What used to require teams can now be accomplished with strategic systems and the right mindset. Your transformation doesn't begin with hustling harder. It starts the moment you stop calling it a side hustle and begin building your wealth machine. The language we use literally programs our brains for what's possible. The choice is yours. Remain trapped in conventional thinking or build